The environment remains present in its established state. Nothing announces a beginning, and nothing suggests continuation. The condition persists as it has, without transition or adjustment. The space does not acknowledge sequence or separation. It remains consistent, holding its form without reference to what preceded it. There is no indication of movement. No element shifts position or alters its relation to the surrounding structure. The environment does not respond to duration. It maintains the same configuration, unaffected by the passage of time or the presence of observation. Everything remains aligned within a stable arrangement that does not invite interpretation. The air exists without motion or pressure. It does not circulate or settle. It does not register warmth or coolness. Its presence is neutral, supporting the environment without becoming perceptible. There is no sensation attached to it, and no variation that suggests change. Surfaces remain uniform. They do not reflect light differently over time, and they do not reveal texture through continued observation. Their presence is constant, neither receding nor advancing. They do not indicate depth or distance. They remain evenly distributed, without emphasis or hierarchy. Light persists in a steady condition. It does not brighten or fade. It does not shift direction or intensity. Illumination remains stable, allowing visibility without highlighting or obscuring any part of the space. There is no contrast that would suggest form or movement. Everything remains equally visible, without distinction. Sound, if present, maintains a consistent level. It does not fluctuate or form patterns. It does not approach or recede. It exists as a uniform background, neither drawing attention nor dissolving into silence. Its presence is constant, without variation or interruption. The environment does not respond to awareness. It does not react to observation or adjust in response to duration. There is no feedback between perception and structure. The space remains unchanged regardless of attention, maintaining its state without acknowledgement. No element becomes more prominent over time. No detail emerges through repetition. The environment does not accumulate meaning or direction. It does not suggest progress or regression. It exists in a continuous condition, unaltered by persistence. The space does not imply movement or stillness as separate states. Both remain indistinguishable within the same equilibrium. There is no sense of arrival or departure. Nothing indicates a beginning, and nothing implies an ending. The air continues to support the environment without variation. It does not carry sensation or signal change. It remains evenly distributed, without movement or resistance. Its presence is neutral and constant. Light maintains its uniform quality. It does not reveal depth or shape through contrast. No area becomes more defined than another. The visual field remains stable, offering no focal point or direction. Sound remains integrated into the environment without forming rhythm. It does not develop or diminish. It does not suggest activity or rest. It exists as a steady condition, indistinguishable from the space itself. The structure does not shift or reorganize. It does not adapt to duration or observation. It remains fixed, without progression or decay. There is no indication of transition or transformation. Time does not assert itself. The environment does not mark its passage. Moments do not separate or accumulate. The state remains continuous, without reference to before or after. Nothing within the space seeks resolution. There is no movement toward conclusion. The environment does not anticipate change, nor does it resist it. It simply remains, stable and uninterrupted. The condition persists without alteration. No element becomes dominant. No feature recedes. The balance remains unchanged, sustained without effort or variation. The environment continues as it is. No new quality emerges. No previous state returns. The space holds its form without deviation, maintaining continuity without direction or end. The environment continues in the same state, unaffected by duration or awareness. Nothing shifts in response to the passage of time. The space maintains its condition without adjustment, holding its structure without deviation or emphasis. There is no indication that anything has begun or ended. The surrounding elements remain evenly distributed. No surface advances or withdraws. No alignment changes. The space does not organize itself around any point of reference. It exists without hierarchy, maintaining balance without effort or variation. The air remains still and neutral. It does not circulate or accumulate. It does not register temperature or movement. Its presence supports the environment without creating sensation or contrast. There is no indication of flow or resistance. Light continues without fluctuation. It neither strengthens nor diminishes. It does not introduce depth or orientation. Illumination remains consistent, allowing all elements to remain visible without emphasis or distinction. No shadow shifts. No highlight emerges. Sound, if present, maintains the same level of uniformity. It does not rise or fall. It does not form rhythm or pattern. It remains embedded within the space, neither separate nor dominant. Its presence does not signal activity or stillness. The environment does not respond to prolonged exposure. It does not adapt or recalibrate. There is no exchange between observation and structure. The space continues as it is, unchanged by awareness or duration. No element becomes more defined over time. No surface gains clarity. No boundary sharpens. The environment does not reveal hidden layers or internal movement. Everything remains equally present and equally neutral. The space does not suggest motion or rest. Both exist without distinction. There is no sense of transition or pause. The condition remains stable, without progression or interruption. The air maintains its equilibrium. It does not shift or circulate. It does not suggest pressure or release. It remains constant, supporting the environment without becoming perceptible. Light remains evenly distributed. It does not indicate depth or separation. It does not guide attention or obscure detail. Illumination continues without variation, sustaining the visibility of the environment without hierarchy. Sound remains consistent. It does not form patterns or rhythms. It does not indicate activity or absence. It exists as a steady layer, neither advancing nor receding. The structure does not respond to continued presence. It does not change in reaction to observation. There is no feedback, no adjustment, no acknowledgement. The environment remains as it was, unchanged. Time does not accumulate. Moments do not layer or dissolve. The space does not recognize sequence. It remains fixed, without beginning or end. Nothing within the environment suggests transition. No threshold appears. No direction is implied. The space does not lead elsewhere. It remains contained within its own continuity. The condition persists without modification. Nothing intensifies. Nothing diminishes. The environment does not evolve or decay. It remains stable, maintaining its form without effort. The space continues to exist as a single, uninterrupted state. No element stands apart. No feature withdraws. Everything remains balanced, uniform, and unchanged. The environment holds its state without deviation. It does not anticipate change. It does not reflect on itself. It simply continues, maintaining the same configuration without interruption or resolution. The environment maintains its condition without deviation. No new quality emerges through duration. The space does not accumulate presence or lose definition. It remains steady, unaffected by the passage of time or the act of observation. Nothing within it suggests alteration or response. The surrounding structure holds its form without adjustment. It does not shift in alignment or orientation. There is no indication of internal movement or reconfiguration. The environment remains balanced, with no area gaining prominence or receding into obscurity. The air continues in a stable state. It does not circulate or compress. It does not convey sensation or variation. Its presence remains neutral, supporting the space without becoming a feature of it. There is no change in pressure or temperature. Nothing signals motion. Light persists evenly across all surfaces. It does not intensify or fade. It does not reveal new details or conceal existing ones. Illumination remains constant, maintaining visibility without emphasis. No region becomes more defined than another. Sound, if present, remains uniform and unmodulated. It does not shift in tone or volume. It does not form sequences or rhythms. It remains integrated into the environment, indistinguishable from the space itself. The environment does not react to extended presence. It does not adapt or recalibrate. There is no feedback between perception and structure. The condition holds steady, unaffected by awareness or duration. No element gains clarity through repetition. No surface becomes more familiar. The space does not develop features through continued exposure. It remains consistent, offering no variation or progression. There is no sense of movement or rest. Both exist without distinction. The environment does not signal stasis or change. It simply maintains its state, neither advancing nor retreating. The air remains balanced and inactive. It does not suggest circulation or stillness. It neither carries nor resists motion. It supports the environment without drawing attention to itself. Light continues without alteration. It does not cast shadows that shift or deepen. It does not reveal texture through contrast. Illumination remains even and stable, preserving the uniformity of the space. Sound remains present without development. It does not increase or diminish. It does not suggest proximity or distance. It persists as a constant condition, indistinguishable from silence. The structure does not respond to time. It does not age or change. No detail becomes more pronounced or more obscure. The environment maintains its configuration without interruption. There is no sense of approach or withdrawal. The space does not open or close. It does not guide attention toward any point. It remains evenly distributed, without focus or hierarchy. The condition remains intact. Nothing accumulates. Nothing dissipates. The environment does not indicate continuity or progression. It exists in a steady state, unchanged by duration. The space does not reveal layers or depth through prolonged presence. It does not unfold or conceal. All elements remain equally present, without differentiation or emphasis. No transition occurs. No boundary is crossed. The environment does not register the passage of moments. It remains fixed, sustaining its state without alteration. The air maintains its neutrality. It does not respond to awareness or movement. It does not carry sensation or signal change. It remains constant, supporting the environment without interaction. Light continues without variance. It does not guide the eye or suggest form. It remains uniform, preserving the sameness of the space. Sound continues, if present, without modulation. It does not introduce rhythm or pattern. It remains steady, neither approaching nor receding. The environment does not acknowledge the continuation of time. It does not shift or adapt. It holds its configuration without deviation, unchanged and uninterrupted. No element within the space asserts significance. No detail becomes dominant. The environment remains evenly distributed, without emphasis or hierarchy. The state persists. Nothing begins. Nothing concludes. The space continues as it is, maintaining equilibrium without direction or change. The environment remains unchanged. No variation emerges as time continues. The space holds its condition without deviation, maintaining the same configuration without adjustment or response. There is no indication that anything has shifted or progressed. The state remains intact, unaffected by duration or observation. No element within the environment asserts presence over another. Surfaces retain their uniform character, neither advancing nor withdrawing. They do not register attention or respond to proximity. Their arrangement remains constant, unaffected by awareness or the absence of it. The air continues in a stable equilibrium. It does not move in a way that can be detected. There is no flow, no circulation, no pressure change. It does not convey sensation or signal transition. It simply remains, supporting the environment without becoming distinct. Light persists in an unchanging condition. It does not brighten or fade. It does not produce contrast or depth. It illuminates without direction or emphasis, maintaining a uniform field in which no element is favored or diminished. Sound, if present, remains uniform and indistinct. It does not develop rhythm or pattern. It does not approach or withdraw. It exists as a constant layer, inseparable from the space itself. There is no moment when it becomes more noticeable or recedes into absence. The environment does not respond to the passage of time. It does not register accumulation or erosion. Nothing within it evolves or degrades. The state remains fixed, without progression or decay. No movement can be identified. No stillness stands in contrast to motion. The environment does not define either condition. It exists outside of such distinctions, holding a consistent equilibrium without fluctuation. The air remains neutral and unremarkable. It does not carry sensation or pressure. It does not suggest temperature or motion. It supports the environment without interacting with it, remaining imperceptible and unchanged. Light continues to fill the space without variation. It does not reveal new forms or obscure existing ones. No shadow deepens or shifts. The illumination remains constant, offering no indication of time or movement. Sound remains present, if at all, as an unchanging background. It does not pulse or fade. It does not signal activity or rest. It remains integrated into the environment without drawing attention. The structure does not respond to awareness. It does not adapt or adjust when observed. It remains independent of perception, maintaining its form without acknowledgement of presence. There is no development or transition. The space does not move toward a different state. It does not suggest progression or return. It remains fixed, holding its configuration without alteration. No element gains prominence through duration. No feature becomes clearer or more obscure. The environment does not reveal layers or depth. It remains uniform, resisting interpretation or focus. The condition persists without change. Nothing accumulates. Nothing dissipates. The environment does not exhibit variation or movement. It remains constant, sustaining its form without effort. The air maintains its equilibrium. It does not shift or circulate. It does not convey warmth or coolness. It does not participate in any process of change. Its presence is steady and neutral. Light remains unchanged. It does not create contrast or emphasis. It does not suggest form or distance. It continues as a stable field, allowing the environment to remain visible without differentiation. Sound, if present, continues without modulation. It does not form rhythm or signal activity. It does not indicate distance or proximity. It remains integrated, unaltered and continuous. The environment does not register the passing of time. There is no sequence of moments, no accumulation of duration. The state remains identical to itself, moment after moment, without progression. Nothing within the space suggests purpose or direction. There is no movement toward resolution or origin. The environment does not guide attention or invite engagement. It remains neutral, self-contained, and stable. The condition does not shift as observation continues. It does not respond to focus or disengagement. It remains consistent regardless of attention or absence. No transition occurs. No boundary is crossed. The environment does not evolve. It persists exactly as it is, maintaining equilibrium without interruption. The space does not differentiate between presence and absence. Both exist without contrast. The environment remains steady, without change or emphasis. The state continues without alteration. Nothing emerges. Nothing recedes. The environment holds its form, unchanging and complete. The condition remains uninterrupted. No variation appears. No transformation takes place. The space persists, stable and uniform, without direction or conclusion. The environment continues as it is. Unchanged. Unresponsive. Sustained. The environment maintains its condition without deviation. Nothing within it shifts in response to duration or attention. The space remains composed, stable, and unaffected by presence. No element signals transition or change. The state persists as it is. There is no emergence of detail through continued observation. Surfaces do not reveal additional structure. They do not become more defined or less distinct. The environment does not reward focus or diminish with neglect. It remains consistent regardless of perception. The air sustains its neutral balance. It does not move or settle. It does not convey pressure, temperature, or direction. Its presence remains constant, supporting the environment without interaction. No sensation arises from it, and no change can be detected. Light continues in an even distribution. It does not shift in intensity or angle. It does not create highlights or shadows that suggest depth. Illumination remains uniform, offering no variation or emphasis. Visibility remains unchanged. Sound, if present, remains uniform and unresolved. It does not evolve or repeat. It does not form a pattern or suggest activity. It exists as a continuous state, integrated into the environment without distinction. The environment does not adjust to prolonged exposure. It does not respond to sustained awareness. It remains indifferent to observation, maintaining its configuration without deviation or adaptation. No boundary becomes more apparent with time. No surface advances or recedes. The environment does not divide itself into foreground or background. All elements remain evenly present, without priority or hierarchy. The space does not indicate motion or rest. Both conditions remain indistinguishable. There is no signal of transition, no implication of direction. The state remains balanced and unchanged. The air continues in equilibrium. It does not circulate or settle. It does not introduce movement or resistance. It supports the environment without contributing sensation or change. Light remains stable. It does not fluctuate or shift. It does not guide perception or create focus. The visual field remains constant, without variation or emphasis. Sound, if perceived, maintains its consistency. It does not increase or diminish. It does not form rhythm or interruption. It remains embedded within the environment, neither emerging nor fading. The structure does not react to the persistence of time. It does not show signs of wear or renewal. It remains identical to itself, unaffected by duration or attention. No progression occurs. The environment does not move toward a different state. It does not regress or transform. It holds its position without motion or intent. The space does not respond to awareness. It neither acknowledges nor resists observation. It remains autonomous, sustaining its condition without input or alteration. There is no accumulation of meaning. No element becomes more significant through repetition. The environment does not reveal hidden layers or evolving patterns. It remains uniform and stable. The air remains unchanged, supporting the space without interaction. It does not vary in density or movement. It does not create sensation or signal change. It simply remains. Light continues without variation. It does not produce contrast or depth. It does not guide attention or shape perception. It remains constant, allowing the environment to persist without modification. Sound remains steady, if present at all. It does not intensify or recede. It does not suggest movement or pause. It persists as a neutral element within the space. The environment does not acknowledge time. It does not register duration or sequence. It exists without reference to past or future. The state remains continuous and unchanged. Nothing within the space signals transition. There is no beginning or ending. The environment does not move toward resolution. It remains suspended in continuity. The condition holds. No shift occurs. No element emerges or fades. The space maintains its form, uninterrupted and stable. The environment remains as it is. It does not alter. It does not respond. It continues, unchanged, without deviation or conclusion. The environment continues without modification. No alteration presents itself as time persists. The space remains exactly as it was, without deviation or adjustment. Nothing within it indicates that a moment has passed or that change has occurred. The condition holds, stable and uninterrupted. There is no redistribution of elements. Surfaces do not realign or shift in relation to one another. The spatial arrangement remains fixed, unaffected by duration or observation. No part of the environment advances or recedes. All components remain in place without variance. The air maintains its neutral state. It does not circulate, condense, or disperse. It does not register warmth or coolness. It carries no sensation and introduces no movement. Its presence supports the environment without interacting with it in any discernible way. Light remains steady and unaltered. It does not fluctuate or redirect. It does not produce contrast or depth. Illumination continues evenly across the space, offering no focal point and no indication of form or distance. Visibility remains constant, without emphasis or shadow. Sound, if present, continues without modification. It does not rise or fall. It does not repeat or transform. It remains integrated into the environment as a constant element, indistinguishable from silence. There is no indication of activity or absence. The environment does not react to the persistence of awareness. It does not adjust in response to continued presence. There is no feedback between perception and structure. The space remains autonomous, maintaining its condition without acknowledgement. No element becomes more distinct over time. No surface gains clarity or loses definition. The environment does not reveal layers or dimensions. It remains uniformly distributed, without hierarchy or emphasis. The space does not indicate motion or stillness. It does not distinguish between the two. Both exist without separation or contrast. The environment remains balanced, without drift or inertia. The air remains constant. It does not shift or circulate. It does not suggest temperature or pressure. It does not respond to movement or rest. Its presence is steady, supporting the environment without interaction. Light continues without variation. It does not shift in intensity or direction. It does not produce gradients or shadows. The illumination remains uniform, maintaining the same visual condition without change. Sound persists as a continuous state. It does not evolve or fade. It does not indicate rhythm or progression. It remains present without drawing attention or diminishing. The structure does not alter under observation. It does not react to duration. It remains fixed, unaffected by the passage of time. There is no accumulation of effect or erosion of form. The environment does not express sequence or transition. It does not suggest that one moment follows another. It remains in a sustained condition, outside of progression or regression. Nothing within the space becomes emphasized. No detail grows more apparent. No element recedes into obscurity. The environment remains evenly distributed, without hierarchy or contrast. The condition remains stable. It does not evolve or degrade. It does not respond to attention or disengagement. It simply persists, unchanged and uninterrupted. The air continues in equilibrium. It does not carry movement or variation. It does not introduce sensation or change. It remains present without impact or alteration. Light continues unchanged. It does not reveal depth or motion. It does not guide the eye or suggest focus. It remains neutral, preserving the uniformity of the space. Sound, if present, remains constant and indistinct. It does not mark time or signal events. It remains integrated within the environment, without variation. The environment does not acknowledge duration. It does not move toward a conclusion or return to an origin. It exists as a continuous state, unaffected by sequence or awareness. No boundary becomes more defined. No separation emerges. The space remains cohesive, without internal distinction or division. The condition persists. Nothing transforms. Nothing diminishes. The environment holds its form without alteration or response. The space remains as it is. It does not shift, resolve, or conclude. It maintains continuity without interruption, sustaining its state without direction or change. The environment remains stable and unaltered. No aspect intensifies or fades. No transition occurs. The condition continues, unchanged and complete. The space persists in equilibrium. Nothing draws focus. Nothing recedes. The environment remains neutral, steady, and uninterrupted. The maintained condition continues without interruption. No element signals change. No movement occurs. The environment remains exactly as it is, without deviation or conclusion. The environment remains evenly sustained. Nothing within it introduces variation. No surface changes in tone or position. No boundary becomes more apparent. The space continues without recalibration, holding the same configuration without response to duration. There is no internal shift that could be measured. The environment does not produce cues that separate one moment from another. The structure remains fixed, maintaining the same relations between elements without alteration. Nothing becomes more prominent. Nothing withdraws. The air remains neutral and stable. It does not circulate in a way that can be detected. It does not gather or thin. It does not suggest pressure or movement. Its presence supports the environment without adding sensation or distinction. Nothing in the atmosphere indicates transition. Light persists without fluctuation. It does not brighten, dim, or change direction. It does not create gradients. It does not establish depth through contrast. Illumination remains even, allowing the space to remain visible without emphasis. No shadow shifts. No reflection becomes pronounced. Sound, if present, remains constant and indistinct. It does not form rhythm. It does not introduce intervals or patterns. It does not increase or diminish. It remains integrated, steady enough to avoid notice and stable enough to prevent silence from becoming distinct. The environment does not respond to continued awareness. It does not adapt when observed. It does not change when attention becomes diffuse. There is no exchange between perception and space. The condition remains independent and fixed. No detail accumulates through repetition. Surfaces do not develop clarity through prolonged focus. Boundaries do not sharpen. The environment does not reveal layers or hidden structure. It remains uniform, offering no additional definition and no reduction of presence. The space does not organize attention. It does not guide perception toward any point. There is no center and no edge. The environment remains evenly distributed, without hierarchy or orientation. Direction has no relevance, and distance offers no distinction. The air maintains its equilibrium. It does not signal warmth or coolness. It does not shift in density. It does not carry movement. It supports continuity without becoming perceptible. Nothing in the atmosphere indicates activity or rest. Light remains stable. It does not introduce emphasis. It does not shape perception through contrast. The visual field remains consistent, without variation that would suggest time or movement. Illumination continues as a constant condition. Sound remains unchanged. It does not approach or recede. It does not layer or dissolve. It does not signal progression. If present, it remains a steady baseline, integrated into the environment without becoming a feature of it. The structure continues without response. It does not indicate wear or renewal. It does not shift toward disorder or alignment. It remains identical to itself, unaffected by duration. The environment does not move toward resolution, and it does not return from one. There is no sense of sequence. Moments do not separate. The space does not register passage. Earlier and later remain indistinct. The environment persists without stages or transitions, maintaining the same stable condition. Nothing within the space suggests intention or purpose. No element indicates function beyond remaining. The environment does not communicate. It does not conceal. It does not present new qualities or withdraw existing ones. It simply sustains its configuration. Awareness does not need to hold detail. No part of the environment requires focus. The space does not reward attention and does not change when attention drifts. It remains constant, allowing perception to remain unengaged. The air remains unchanged. It does not resist movement and does not enable it. It does not carry sensation. It remains neutral, supporting the environment without introducing variation. Light continues without alteration. It does not create depth. It does not reveal new edges. It does not imply distance. Illumination remains even, maintaining visibility without emphasis. Sound continues, if present, without modulation. It does not become clearer. It does not fade. It does not form rhythm. It remains constant, integrated into the environment as a steady condition. The environment does not acknowledge continuation. It does not shift toward an endpoint. It does not produce any marker that would suggest completion. The maintained condition persists without direction, without progression, and without interruption. No transition occurs. No boundary is crossed. The environment remains intact, stable and uniform. Nothing begins. Nothing concludes. The space continues as it is, sustaining equilibrium without deviation. The environment continues without alteration. No indication appears to suggest a shift in state or direction. The space remains exactly as it has been, unchanged by duration or awareness. Nothing signals an ending, and nothing initiates a new phase. The condition holds, uninterrupted. There is no movement within the structure. No component advances or withdraws. The arrangement of elements remains consistent, unaffected by the passage of time or the presence of observation. The environment does not reorganize or adapt. It remains as it is, maintaining the same configuration without adjustment. The air persists in equilibrium. It does not circulate or settle. It does not suggest warmth or coolness. It carries no sensation and produces no response. Its presence supports the environment without asserting itself. Nothing in the air indicates motion or variation. Light remains constant. It does not brighten or dim. It does not define edges or suggest depth. It does not emphasize or obscure. Illumination continues evenly, allowing the environment to remain visible without guiding perception or introducing contrast. Sound, if present, remains uniform. It does not rise or fall. It does not form pattern or rhythm. It does not imply activity or rest. It exists as a stable condition, inseparable from the surrounding space and unchanged by duration. The environment does not respond to observation. It does not adjust to focus or inattention. There is no exchange between awareness and structure. The state remains fixed, unaffected by perception or time. No element becomes more distinct through repetition. No surface gains clarity or loses definition. The environment does not reveal new characteristics. It remains uniform, offering no variation or emphasis. The space does not suggest motion or stillness as separate conditions. Both remain indistinguishable. There is no sense of transition or pause. The environment continues without directional movement or temporal progression. The air maintains its neutrality. It does not convey pressure or temperature. It does not respond to presence. It remains a stable component of the environment, neither intrusive nor absent. Light persists without modification. It does not shape the environment through contrast or shadow. It does not indicate distance or depth. It remains consistent, supporting visibility without drawing attention. Sound continues, if present, without change. It does not fluctuate or recede. It does not indicate sequence or rhythm. It remains integrated into the environment, steady and unobtrusive. The structure does not alter with time. It does not age or renew. It does not shift toward any conclusion. The environment maintains its configuration, unaffected by the passage of moments. No boundary becomes more apparent. No separation forms. The space remains cohesive, without distinction between parts. It does not invite movement or exploration. It remains complete as it is. The condition does not evolve. It does not respond to persistence. It does not present layers or depth. It remains consistent, without revealing or concealing anything. The air continues without change. It does not flow or stagnate. It does not introduce sensation or movement. It supports the environment quietly, without altering it. Light remains uniform. It does not flicker or fade. It does not emphasize or obscure. The visual field stays constant, allowing the space to remain unchanged. Sound, if present, continues without variation. It does not signal the passage of time. It does not draw attention or recede into silence. It remains a constant element within the environment. The environment does not react to duration. It does not progress or regress. It does not anticipate or conclude. It remains stable, maintaining the same condition without interruption. Nothing within the space suggests an outcome. There is no indication of transition or closure. The environment does not prepare for change or resolution. It persists in its current form. The structure remains fixed. No element shifts position or function. The environment retains its balance, unchanged and unaffected by observation or time. The condition continues without deviation. Nothing emerges. Nothing dissolves. The space holds its form without variation, maintaining continuity without direction. The environment remains as it is. It does not alter. It does not conclude. It does not evolve. It continues, steady and uninterrupted, sustaining its state without end.